company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome to the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. It's the last day for the week for me, Monday through Thursday at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, the boys will be in, Mike and Mark, for the Carr Brothers. So that's going into a holiday weekend. Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope Santa knows where you are, and he's very good to you. Next week, normal programming is pretty much in place until Christmas Eve Day. After Howie, we're going to go to Christmas music overnight through Christmas Day, and we'll get back to normal on Thursday, the 26th. Although I think, are we getting the special of Hank on Thursday, I think. So it won't be live. It will be special. We do all this stuff at the end of the year, folks. So, and Jerry Doherty will sit in for me next Thursday, and he'll be there for Political Thursday, the day after Christmas. So, yeah, cool. And you got big plans, Ted, for...
Woohoo! Oh, you know it, baby.
You know, I'm looking at you through. If you just put a red shirt on, man.
Well, I have a
you really got a real
hoodie.
Santa beard.
Yeah, I got a red hoodie, red sweatpants, big black boots.
Do kids walk up to you at the mall and start talking
and the
to
Santa hat?
You could absolutely do a Santa. No question about it, folks. Let's do some housekeeping.
I knew Santa, and I'm no Santa.
And you are no Santa. I knew St. Nick.
I'm a helper.
You are no Saint. We're all helpers. All right, some housekeeping, folks. You can join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Hey, our text line is up and running. The screen's in front of me here. You text this number just like you do anything else, and we try to work it into the conversation, or you can get your 2 cents in that way. That number that you text is 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. Of course, AM 830 WCRN on the dial, and we are live streaming 24/7 on the TuneIn app like thousands of other radio stations. So just download it. If you don't have that app, just go to it, download it, seconds to download it, punch in WCRN, see our logo, do me a favor, hit the like button so we know you're there, and then it's very easy to find. And half the listeners, I think, they go between the two. In the car, you're listening on AM 830. When you're walking around, a lot of times in the house. You can also tell Alexa. That's great. You can just say, hey, Alexa, play WCRN. We'll do that as well. And I do stream my shows on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show, Facebook, X, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and Rumble. We stream live to Rumble. If you go to the Joe Mangiacotti Rumble page, or Rumble TV channel, whatever they call it, we're streaming this. So a lot of ways to watch. So come on and join us on the streaming as I broadcast from the WCRN studios in Westboro, Massachusetts, our palatial but not overly ostentatious studios, high atop the Carberry Towers here in Westboro. Also streaming to the WCRN Facebook page and YouTube channel as well. So that takes care of a lot of the housekeeping, folks. 508-871 7,000. So good morning, or rather I should say good afternoon. I don't know, I'm still stuck in the morning sense here. Time for us fellow common sense citizens to talk about a few things. We gather for another episode here of some recent discussion, fearless truth seeking. So let's dive into some sometimes it seems like a world has gone mad. I always talk about the Bizarro world. If you're a fan of Superman, right? Or Jerry Seinfeld used to reference Bizarro world all the time in his episodes. Hey, but we're not without hope, folks. See, today's stories span the spectrum from shocking criminal activities to the absurdities of political doublespeak, but they are all, and they do all share a common thread in the consequences of policies, decisions, ideologies that are detached from the reality and basic decency in some cases. But trust me, you'll see what I'm talking about. I do want to start with this Aurora, Colorado, where the infamous Trendiagra gang the TDA, straight out of Venezuela's most violent prisons, by the way, has taken over entire apartment complexes, turning them into crime-infested war zones. Donald Trump told us this, and he was immediately shot down. It's another lie, another exaggeration. It's just Trump. The governor comes out, no. And of course, that led to what I think is one of the best classic moments in a TV interview when Raddick there is talking to J.D. Vance, and she tries to justify this with it's just a handful of apartments. And Vance, of course, shoots back, Martha, do you hear yourself? A gang from another country on American soil taking control of, I don't care if it's an apartment. I don't care if it's the pool shed. It's unacceptable on American soil. Their latest atrocity, kidnapping and torturing 2 innocent migrants. I want to put an asterisk by innocent. We're going to come back and talk about that in a second. But for all purposes that we know, 2 innocent migrants. And these acts of barbarism didn't arise in a vacuum. They didn't just exist with nothing happening around it. They are the natural outcome of a border policy that treats enforcement like a suggestion. It ignores the realities of unchecked migration. Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain rightly pointed out the federal government's failure to provide infrastructure or guidance for incoming migrants. The Biden administration, washes its hand of it once migrants cross the border, and they fly them to wherever they want to go, or give them a bus ticket, or maybe drive them and take them out to dinner. I have no idea with this administration. And who pays the price? Everyday Americans and law-abiding migrants. Yes. Real migrants, legal migrants. And I think the Democrat Party totally underestimated the fact that just because somebody came from another country doesn't mean that they're on board with illegal migration. I don't think they just assumed, of course, they're going to support us. After all, weren't a lot of them coming up wearing the Biden shirts? Anyway, I'm going to digress there. So who pays the price? Everyday Americans and law-abiding migrants caught in the crossfire. The Edge at Lowry Complex is a grim snapshot of what happens when ideology blinds leaders to the practical needs of the citizens. Now, this is a moment to ask, where are the champions of common sense in government? I think that in essence, I think Donald Trump in the MAGA movement is representing the common sense party. Let's look at the vice president-elect versus the current vice president. You keep forgetting, don't you? Kamala's still in power. You're forgetting that Joe's even president. But they are. Who has a heap load more common sense out of those two? Go ahead, I'll wait. Now, speaking of some misplaced priorities here, how about this spending bill that redefines criminals as justice involved individuals? This we'll go through some of these terms. This is one of the things that absolutely bothers me every time, right? The progressive left is always trying to redefine language, sometimes in real time. Remember Comey's Supreme Court hearings? Merriam-Webster was actually changing the meaning of words during the hearing to back up the senator's prisoner. Look, stop it. It's too Orwellian. And when, especially when they come to the undocumented and things of that nature, it's literally the legal and technical name is illegal alien. It's in our statute. It's like if you ever said back in the day, right? If we said Barack Hussein Obama, they went out of their mind because his middle name's Hussein. Oh, you're doing that? That I didn't name the guy, and he picked Barry. Remember when in college he went by a different name, which is still rich because back in the day it's printed. You can get copies of it where they identified him as a foreign exchange student. That's it. I didn't think Hawaii was a foreign exchange student, but whatever. It's a whole nother show. So now we got to call them justice-involved individuals and homeless people as individuals experiencing homelessness. Again, typical government. 5 words to do what one does, right? Orwellian language might make bureaucrats feel warm and fuzzy, ineffective even for that matter, but it doesn't solve the problems. Crime is still crime. Homelessness remains a crisis. No amount of wordplay will fix a system that's fundamentally broken. A rose by any other name, folks. Meanwhile, in Manhattan, the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, that's ignited a chilling debate. I talked about this yesterday, about the cost of privatized healthcare. Now, the alleged killer, LM, we'll just call him, we don't have to keep saying his name, reportedly viewed his actions as a form of protest against health insurance industry. Violence, of course, is not the answer. It never is. But the fact that anyone would even attempt to frame such a heinous act as heroic, they literally are trying to make a folk hero out of this guy. It speaks volumes about the deep division in our society. Instead of addressing the systemic issues that drive such despair, we've become experts at pointing fingers and escalating the rhetoric. And the fact that Axios did that survey, and when you combine the questions, 60% were like, yeah, whatever, I don't bother me. And 41% thought it was justified and supported it. Let's not forget the comic relief provided by Senator John Kennedy. Did you see any of this yesterday? This guy, I love the line to Charlie Bahaka. Of course, Baker, a former governor, but why don't you go online and get a spine?
Governor Charles of the Commonwealth.
Charles, yeah. So John Kennedy, Senator Kennedy is a good old folksy guy who this week he reminded us that wit can be a powerful weapon against hypocrisy. Whether grilling climate extremists or NCAA bureaucrats, Kennedy's sharp tongue is a masterclass in holding people accountable. His questions to Charlie Baker, why don't you go onto Amazon, buy a spine, and take a stand? It was great. It's exactly the kind of courage we need more of in Washington. All right, folks, we have to take our first break here in the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Stick with us. We'll be back in 2 and 10.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps. Fluorescent lamps. Thermometers. Thermometers. Thermostats. Thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly. Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org, because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment here of the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Center of the dial, center of the, well, of New England, and center of information, AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Don't forget our text line is up and running. There's a screen right in front of me here in the studio. When you text it, it appears there in real time. Text just like anyone, mom, pick me up, honey, bring home the milk, whatever it is you normally text. You can do it exactly the same way at 617-297-8388. So finally, to finish my opening thoughts here, is as Congress is debating, if you didn't get this one right, giving itself a $6,600 pay raise, one has to wonder, where is the sense of duty? Do you really think you deserve this? How can lawmakers justify rewarding themselves when ordinary citizens are struggling with inflation, rising crime, and the healthcare system is in chaos? Leadership means sacrifice, not self-service. So this, this just makes you think of other things. First of all, seriously, when did you actually have would be Clinton administration last time there's a balanced budget? And thanks to Social Security for that a little bit. So, look, do the job. American citizens are actually having a negative because inflation's so high. Look, our real income is going down. When I was a kid, the thing that, our moms used to try, get a good government job, work your 34 years or 30 to 40 years, you retire, you get a pension. You're not going to make a lot of money working for the government, excuse me, but it's job security and good retirement. Now that's great. I mean, there are people making six figures all into not just federal government, state governments, county governments, city governments. It's a lot of money when you consider what the average income is. And the fact that even in this proposal, it's dead, okay? This CR, the continuing resolution bill. I think Elon Musk is the one who put the nail in that coffin with just a tweet. And look at Trump. As I said, Joe Biden, he took off Tuesday for Rehoboth Beach. Took the whole week off. Week before Christmas. Will he even be back before the new year? I have no
What
idea.
for?
Exactly. What for? And we're going to talk about now more and more information is coming out. Just how bad the decline was and how much they were covering up. And that is criminal. And I was saying this, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, Kamala has got to answer because she blatantly lied about his condition and abilities. And now we're finding out from staffers that on bad days they would scrub everything. And how members of Congress and the cabinet would say he would just absolutely be zoned out or fall asleep and have no idea what they're talking about. And that was technically the president of the United States had the finger on the button and was making decisions that affected your life every day.
Recently seen in Angola.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole. And then the answer, he got outside. And who asked, why are you letting him out at night outside? And he answers the question about the drone. I don't know if he knew what the hell he was talking about. Go check it out. It's all, I'm sure, all over the video. So here we're faced with the tapestry of stories that highlight the best, the worst of our times. From the streets of Aurora to the halls of Congress, the question remains, are we willing to confront uncomfortable truths and demand accountability, folks? Or will we let the noise drown out the signal of reason? It's unacceptable. The 20th cannot come fast enough. And it really is like mom and dad are coming home type of thing. And we got to clean up the house and get the idiot friends out the back door. And the sabotage that's going on, and I am saying it's sabotage, trying to liquidate the border wall, pennies on the dollar. And then I talked about it earlier, the Project Veritas, They get the kid, I think he's the EPA, literally using the term, it's like throwing gold bars off the Titanic. We're trying to get as much money out the door to these NGOs, non-government organizations. The bills are getting, or money's being awarded. And part of this continuing resolution, by the way, the Democrats were trying to sneak in, buried in that 1,500 pages. 15, why does a continuing resolution need to have anything added or additional spending? It literally should be nothing. As they're calling it a skinny CR, right? It should be nothing. But just keep the government open till we're ready to handle this in the new year. That's it. No more spending. We're just authorized to keep spending everything. And this is all overlapping to only 6% of federal employees are actually going to work, right? So everybody's already home and working. And you're telling me that the amount of work that they're doing from the bubble bath, as we saw one guy post, is at the same level as going to the office. Now, I will concede and agree. And if you don't know this, I'll point it out because I've actually talked about this topic over the years in radio. And every study done basically comes out to about the same. And here it is. Study after study found that given an 8-day work week in a typical office, Monday through Friday, that the amount of work that actually gets done comes in just shy of 4 hours. So if we round up to the 4 hours, we're saying that even when you actually go to work, you get up, you have breakfast, you shower, maybe you go work out, whatever. You get to the office, 9 o'clock, you work till 5. You have an hour off for lunch. You take coffee a couple times, and then you add the greetings in the morning, the chit chat, the water cooler talk, the bathroom breaks, I'm going to zone out for a while, playing or checking social media. When you add it all up, the typical person works a little under 4 hours in an 8-hour workday. So now are we getting 4 hours out of people who are working from home? It doesn't sound like a lot. 4 hours can kind of go pretty quick. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you think that the actual productivity of an 8-hour workday is only 4 hours, maybe working from home isn't the worst thing if it can be done and if we're actually getting that work out of them. Because look at the other side of this. How much it's costing you, the taxpayer. Remember, all the government money doesn't belong to the guy. It belongs to us. It's paying $32 a square foot. And if you're talking about DC, very high, very expensive, $44 a square foot, electric, security, maintenance. You got to keep everything working and running, but nobody's there. We're spending billions of dollars every month on office space that is not utilized. Get rid of the leases, sublease the property out, close some buildings down. It's got to change. So in this, I keep going to tell you this and getting sidetracked. In this continuing resolution, the Democrats tried to put in that they're exempt from their records, meaning that we would not be able to investigate or subpoena their records, their emails, their telephone records, that Congress wants to place themselves above the law. The same people we heard for years in regards to Donald Trump or any conservative or Republican, that no one is above the law, tried to slide in. Yeah, when it comes to that, you can't do that to Congress. You can't look at our emails. You can't subpoena our phone records. No, we're exempt from the law. Crazy. I don't know if that would withhold a court challenge. I hope not. But don't vote for it. Mike Johnson has to hold the line on this, and it looks like he's getting closer and closer to a possible, losing the speakership. I think it was Rand Paul I don't know if he was joking, that Elon Musk should be speaker. You don't have to be a member of Congress to be speaker, by the way. So the Republicans, with a very thin majority, could put anybody they want in. I said bring back Newt Gingrich. Guy did a good job. I mean, we're still feeling the ramifications of his leadership. But this bill is absolutely ridiculous in the spending. Some of it you need, I think, farmers and things like that. There's money in there for the Key Bridge there that went down, right? So that's big. So there's got to be some things, but don't add all of this stupid stuff. And then the language in there, they're trying to tell you, right? Homeless individuals, they have to be called individuals experiencing homelessness. Homeless children, a children experiencing homelessness. Out of school youth, pretty self-explanatory, not very complicated. Now they got to change it in the official government stuff to opportunity youth. Now, here's the question. If this did pass and get signed, what's the penalty if you don't use it? Part of freedom of speech is not only can you say what you want, barring slander or firing at the crowded theater, but also freedom of speech is you don't have to say anything. You can't be forced to say something. I mean, that's an argument to make for transgender people who are biologically a male or female, but tell you, you have to call me this. Now, most of us have no problem with that. If that's what you want to identify, fine. I'll address you that way. But you can't take my head off if you present as a male. If you've got an Adam's apple, you're 6'3", and you need a shave at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I say, sorry, sir, you can't take my head off. I mean, but if you explain that you identify, and this is how, most of us out of just decency, normal respect will be fine. We'll address you that way. It doesn't change you biologically. It just it is a social contract. We accept to address you that way. Doesn't change who you are, though. And we could talk. We get a break here in a second, but we'll talk about Charlie Baker and the NCC and Kennedy. Low-skilled adults with foundational skill needs. These are the terms they wanted to change stuff to. Folks, we have to take the mid-show break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Our text line, 617-297-8388. And come join us on the streaming. Back in 2 and 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. Partial sun today with highs in the 40s. Tonight we'll fall back into the 20s with increasing clouds, and tomorrow we're going to keep it cloudy and cooler. We've got the chance for a few sprinkles and flurries during the day, and then in the evening hours, a better chance for an area of some rain and snow. Initially, I think it's going to struggle to stick, but we could end up with anywhere from a coating up to a couple of inches, especially in eastern and southeastern Massachusetts on Friday night. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AMA 30 WCRN Radio Central, folks. 508-871-7000. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. Text me, screen's in front of me, 617-297-8388. You can listen, of course, to the, tune in, Alexa, play it, all that. Or you can also watch the streaming on Facebook and YouTube for the station, as well as X, Twitch TV, and my LinkedIn profile. Follow me at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. I do want to shift over a little, go back to it. I talked about it in the opening when I ran through some stuff to put out there. Aurora, in a dozen gangmen, it's up to 19. They arrested 14. They arrested another 5. And this kidnapping torture plot in the Colorado apartment complex. And again, where are the apologies to Donald Trump and this one particular city council person out there who they treated her like a nut job? Now, let's talk about this, because the video of the gang, and you can't tell. I mean, it's not like they wear uniforms, right? They just looked like guys. Shorts, flip-flops, baseball caps. But they're carrying guns, crowbars, knives. And they were using, I don't know if it was a crowbar or a hammer. I think they were switching it out to bust the doorknob and the lock off an apartment. That's the viral video that went out. And remember, Donald Trump made references. Look, they're taking over these apartment complexes and they're terrorizing people. And we were told it's a lie. Not true. The governor comes on. Authorized. It's only a handful. J.D. Vance, do you listen to yourself? Hear yourself? Look, talk about this. I don't know. And I made reference yesterday when we were talking about migration, immigration, coyotes, the bills, and so forth. There is a so much darker side to this illegal migration than we talk about in polite society. Because it's the cartels, it's the sex trafficking, the drugs, the human slavery. And I'm looking at this story, and I'm looking at what's done to them. And if you haven't gotten the details on this, and this is an adult show, so I don't think we have a lot of kids listening to this particular show, but there was torture. They took this couple from their unit to another unit. They tied them up. They tortured them, including stabbing with machete the man, pulling the fingernails off the female. Think about this. Those techniques are typically used to get information. The gang that we're talking about is very machete happy. Pulling fingernails out is an information gathering technique that's old as the hills, right? So now you have to ask, well, what's the relationship? Why this couple? They too are Venezuelan. So you got to ask, what's the deal there? Do they owe money for the smuggling? Do they have a debt to coyotes? Are there children involved? You got to wonder. Do they have children? Where are they if they do? Does the gang have the children and they can't come up with the money to get them back? Or they want the children? Like, what is going on? You have to, and unfortunately, you have to think in these terms of this world issue. And this is happening where a lot of migrants and people without a lot of money and options live. Doesn't mean it's right, and doesn't mean we can accept it. Is the governor only going to do something when it's on his street or in his front yard? So what's going on? You know there's more going on with this particular couple. There's something that caused them to be targeted, taken to another location, and clearly kept alive because they either owe money or they're making money or they have something or they're wanting. What is going on? So these gangbangers are likely or they're linked, first of all, right, to the Trendiagras syndicate. They're in custody. And this is the same apartment building that Donald Trump made reference to, and we were told no. 14 suspects were nabbed. Police Chief Todd Chamberlain called without a question a gang incident. Then they got 5 more, so it's up to 19. And out of that, 18 are absolutely confirmed Venezuelan and then linked to the gang. It's been this a complex. It's totally overrun by members of the violent Venezuelan prison gang. So these people have to come up who live there. They have to come up with their rent, and then another fee. I guess we would call that protection fee, or you got a nice apartment here. It'd be a shame if something happened, type of thing. I don't know, right? But they're coming up. And they're responsible for revenue to the gang. Now, the group, it's a mix of both men and women, by the way. But they ripped this other migrant couple from their home at the Edge. That's the name of the place. Took them to another apartment. They were bound, pistol whipped, beaten. He was stabbed with a machete. Her fingernails were pulled off. And, of course, the apartment was burglarized. They did call 911 around 2:30 in the morning. And after they lied to the captors that they wouldn't tell police, they agreed to let him go. But he was stabbed. They said it's not life-threatening. But these guys also know their way around a knife and a way around the human body. So they can inflict pain and damage without necessarily killing you. So what is really happening there? So now Chamberlain, the chief there, he's saying, hey, we're working with the Department of Homeland Security to track down additional suspects. But it's incredibly hard to identify TDA members because they lack specific identifiers. Now, why do they lack specific identifiers? Because we let anybody come over the border. We don't have a sovereign border. It's not secure. You don't have to come with anything. You can just tell them your name. You can just tell them your birth date. Obviously, it doesn't have to be accurate. We have no vetting process. These aren't people coming in through an official procedure where they've made an application to State Department, and the State Department has looked at their medical records, criminal records, even social standing, where they're coming from, and said, fine, you've got the funds to rent your own place, you got a job waiting for you, or you have the funds to, say, live for 3 months so you can get a job. That's the type of thing we should be doing, making it very easy to come here, to work here, and live here if you're not a citizen. But we got to know who you are. And we don't want you if you have gang affiliations. We don't want you if you have a criminal record. We don't want you if you have mental issues that haven't been appropriately treated. And then we've got the medical stuff. Don't forget the stupidity of during the pandemic, where our own citizens were having trouble getting back into the state, country that you lived in, and you had to be forced to take jabs, which weren't really vaccinated. They're not vaccines. We've established this. The COVID vaccine, which we erroneously used the term vaccine. They called it a vaccine to make it easier for us to swallow or for us to take the jab, but it's not a vaccine in the entire, technical definition, historical definition, medical definition. It's not a vaccine. But people coming in illegally, didn't matter. They were able to come in, thousands of them in a group. When we couldn't go to church, we couldn't go to the movie theater, we couldn't go to plays. They wanted us locked in our own home, by the way, which isn't very healthy if you have something that you can catch airborne, is confining people into the same living quarters. But out in California, the guy running on the beach with nobody around him for 3 miles, he gets arrested, or surfing in the middle of the ocean. I mean, guys, don't forget the stupidity, the overreach, the authoritarian ways that they tortured us and stamped on our civil liberties, our freedom of speech, our freedom of expression, right to practice religion. It was all going on. Anyway, back to this, what's going on here. And the Chamberlain, right? I guess he's kind of a new chief. I don't know his tenure here. But he said, we're not going to rest until we verify the individuals in this incident and get them in custody. Every individual who mistreated another human being in the ways these victims were treated is in custody, and we will use, again, every resource and our ability to do that. We have proactively been focused on that apartment complex. You have been. Because it wasn't that long ago that your governor, the mayor, news media there were saying there's nothing here. What Donald Trump made reference to isn't happening. He's so full of it. He's lying again. He's making this stuff up. It's amazing how, is it that he actually is telling the truth when he says this, or does he have some kind of wicked power that when he says it, it manifests and comes true? I mean, which one is it? Because he has a hell of a track record. If we go back and we listen to, he said, right, 2016, coming down the escalator. Immigration is a big problem, folks. They're not sending the best and brightest here, by the way. Took us 8-9 years for the collective consciousness to agree with that, see that, but it's the case. It's the case. So we're going to take a break, but mark my words. If it comes out, if it ever comes out, there's a lot more to this story and that couple, by the way, than we're letting on. How does Joe Scarborough get to walk around Florida unaccosted? He's a disaster. Okay, Texter. We'll deal with the texts when we come back on the other side. 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available, folks. We'll be back in 2 and 10.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Imagine a retirement where you're free to pursue your passions, confident in your financial decisions and positions. A prosperous future starts with the right guidance. Visit wealthandwisdom65.com. That's wealthandwisdom65.com.
Advisory services offered by Optimus Wealth Management Group, Incorporated. Insurance services offered by the Optimus Group, LLC, an affiliated company. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services or insurance products to any residents of any state other than the state of Massachusetts or where otherwise legally permitted.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite at the best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show at AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour. We've got about 13 minutes here at 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. Text line is 508, used it at 617-297-8388. It's saying, hey, Joe, how does Joe Scarborough get to walk around Florida unaccosted? I mean, he is a disaster. I'm assuming that when they went down there, they kind of probably were picked up by car service and maybe even had security. I don't know. But hopefully they don't. Look, they're idiots. I don't know how they're still in the air. This is the other thing, right? You got, who was it that CNN? And some of these Einsteins over there are thinking they should even go deeper into the wokeness. Well, CNN, I mean, was it the Home Garden Network or Home TV or one of those home improvement type channels? Their ratings are beating CNN. Look, I just don't get it. And they've been losing tons of revenue. I've talked about the fact that so much of your cable bill goes to all these network channels. And as people cut the cable, which they've been doing in a steady stream for years now, they keep losing revenue to that because and I've said this, I know, over and over again, but just again, for those that don't realize this, streaming is the way the country has moved. If you take terrestrial TV, dish TV, and cable TV combined, is less than people who are using Roku, Fire Stick, and Smart TV now. 508-871-7000.
Joe, can I still use my UHF tuner?
It absolutely does. UHF actually, because now what they do is they've got the HD. So a couple of years ago, they did away with the analog. So now if you get like one of these smart TVs, folks, and you put the antenna on it, and then you set your settings and you say scan, you'll notice like if you go CVBF in Boston, there's actually, it's 5.1. They have 3 broadcasting, 5.1, 5.3, 5.2 in different programming. And because when it's digital like this, you can have almost countless stations. And I forget who I was having this conversation with about radio the other day and how many stations there are. And the technology has been here a long time, but the FCC has always limited the number of licenses because if you have, I think we're over 9,000 now. We were in the 8,000, like 8,600 stations for years. And I think we're over 9,000 stations, but you could triple that, quadruple that. But the problem, the reason the FCC doesn't do that, it's the advertising dollar. There isn't enough money out there to support that many stations. But now we've got companies, whether it's iHeartMedia or this one Odyssey that Soros is buying up. So you've got one studio, one location providing programming to 40 stations, And I started in this business 4 decades ago. You'd go into a small local station, independently owned. It would have 5 or 6 people in the sales department. You'd have full-time on-air people, full-time news director, news person. And now it's all consolidated. Even us. We're a 50,000 watt AM commercial station. There's only 3 others in the Boston market. And they're all owned by the same company. If you look at those other stations, they're owned by iHeartMedia. We're the only independently owned station still out there. So the business has changed in a lot of ways that way.
I keep trying to get Candlepin bowling, but it doesn't seem to be on.
Remember that every Saturday, right? And isn't Candlepin kind of us New England thing, right?
Oh, yeah, it's strictly.
Yeah. So, of course, growing up in Boston, I didn't realize that was, parochial to us. I also, as a kid, because I grew up not that far off the Boston Marathon. So Route 135 ran through Natick, and I was on the Natick-Wellesley line and straight over. And the whole thing is I thought everybody had a marathon every year. When I would go to cousins' house, I'd ask them, when's your marathon? I didn't realize that the Boston Marathon was something people came, when you're 8 years old, 10 years old, you don't realize, people come from all over the world to run in this marathon. This isn't like the town fair or something or the carnival coming. It's a big thing that's parochial to Boston. And I just assumed everybody had a marathon. So silly me. But that's, so we would thought as kids, I didn't think anything of that. Candlepin, that was normal. when you went camping. My buddy, I went to, from elementary school on, this kid, Kemp, and they had Kemp Bowling Alley downtown Natick. I think Agostino's is a restaurant where the bowling alley used to be. But that was a big deal for us in the 70s. We were big bowling people. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. So Senator Kennedy, again, Charlie Baker, I don't know if you saw any of this. Go check it out. I thought he was just, his body language is off. He's got his hand resting on his his chin on his hand, and both Josh Hawley and you've got Senator Kennedy, who really, I think they just tore him up. And he's saying, well, yeah, if a guy goes in the locker, the girls can go somewhere else. And of course, the response is, so you're putting it on the biological female that she has to go find somewhere else. So, and we're talking about, see the numbers here. This is the thing, right? Out of the thousands upon thousands of female athletes, we're talking about what, 50 or 60 in the overall. Sometimes there's only one in the entire division, say, one transgender female.
Where are the feminists?
Well, that's the point. Where are the feminists? Where's Title IX? Biden was trying to change it because it's such a common sense argument. And again, this is going back to the Orwellian language, right? I identify as a woman, so therefore I am a woman. And then you got to pretend that I am a woman, but you're not actually. And I understand you can identify as a woman and lead your life as a woman. That's your thing, right? We got people who lead their lives as cowboys, but have never been on a ranch. We got people who, whatever. And that's, as long as it doesn't hurt you, doesn't hurt someone else, doesn't hurt me, doesn't infringe on your safety, your happiness, your wealth, your family, why do you care? But you can't tell people that you have to buy into my delusion of this. That I say this so you alter reality. You can identify as a woman, or you can be a woman who identifies as a man. Let everybody know that. And if they play along, that's great. But you really can't say anything if they don't. Of course, the left's trying to say actually make it criminal if you don't. But it doesn't change. And this is why we're seeing some of the changes. Europe has come around on this a little bit. And now you've got some colleges, some sporting organizations saying, hey, if you've gone through puberty, you are what you were born. What's on your birth certificate. Oh, and there's efforts to change the birth certificate too, but because if you're a male who now identifies as a female and you've gone through puberty, it's done. You have, denser muscle mass and bigger lungs and a bigger heart and a bigger reach. All of the things that make a male, the DNA of a male, has been done to your body. So when you go on to that field, the volleyball field, in the track field, look back at the Olympics, what was going on there. What about these poor girls who have been seriously injured because of volleyball spikes to their face or what have you? And what about the countless awards and scholarships and championships? And then we have the teams that forfeited because they were told they have to play even though there's a male on that team. Now, they may have changed their hair, put on some makeup, but that's it. I call those the trans light. Transgender, I think if you go through the entire surgery process and then you do years of the hormonal therapy and they get the estrogen levels up and the testosterone down and stuff, there's an argument to be made there. But if you've done nothing but a little lipstick and let your hair grow out, are you kidding me? Okay.
Joe, if you've taken the hormone therapy, isn't that just like doping?
It is doping, which is why they actually have the screening that they do, and they already have levels about that. Even before the transgender issue was an issue, they were testing for testosterone levels and things of that nature, because some guys would T, as they call it, right? They'd be on the T, they'd take extra testosterone. So this all happens. Look, it doesn't change it. Baker looked like a complete idiot, and what I think he's like $3 million a year as the president of the NCAA. Anyway, go check that out. That was something, and we got to wrap up here in a second. But also the Jamoke in Chicago, right, Johnson? There, he's down to 15% approval rating, right? He has his top aides face racism, misogyny, sexual harassment complaints. This guy, there is a certain thing they say you gotta go along with, and you gotta believe you deserve the politicians you voted for. In Chicago, you did this. You had a chance to not elect this guy. And you got Trudeau now, who looks like he's about to resign any minute. They're falling like candle pins. There's a throwback for you, right? Macron's out. Chancellor of Germany's out. Looks like Justin Trudeau is going to be out. Is it you've got why do I draw a blank? Ted, the guy, the Latino of Trump, they call him, Malay, in not Venezuela, Costa Rica. It'll come to me. Text 617-297-8388. Point is, the leadership that's changing around the globe, and I don't know if that's the Trump bump that's doing that, but a new poll commissioned by Democrats and members of Chicago City Council shows embattled Mayor Brendan Johnson unprecedented 15%, folks. It's crazy. Hey, this wraps up the week for me on air anyway. Of course, I'll be at work tomorrow here at the station, but I'll be back Monday at 1 o'clock Christmas week. And hey, I'll see you then. Have a fantastic weekend. Mike Wade, Saturday morning, tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock. The brothers will be here for the Carr Brothers. So this is it. Wrapping up the Thursday edition here. Argentina, thank you. Texter 873, appreciate that. All right, folks, have a great night, and join us back here tomorrow morning at AM 830 WCRN. Joe out.